Hello and welcome to the video tutorial for Hero of Supermegatropolis. This is a game for 2 to 5 players where you battle foes while racing each other to become the first Hero of Supermegatropolis. Here's how the cards are set up for gameplay. On one end, you have Dirty Money. Then you have the Thug cards and the Thug Reward cards next to each other. The next level is Crime Boss and Crime Boss rewards, and the final level is Supervillain and Supervillain reward cards. At the end of the pile is the Supervillain complications. Now I'll get into what all those cards mean in a moment, but that's what your table will look like. Now, let's start looking at your hand. First, randomly draw a starting character card. Place it in front of you face up for everyone to see. Now as you'll notice, the card is broken down into several sections. First, you can see the character name, occupation, and picture. Then, we have the fight bonus. This is the starting bonus that you'll have, and you'll add a die roll to it to see if you can defeat your opponents. Below that are your hit points. When you fail an attack against a bad guy, you lose 1 hit point. When you reach 0, you are knocked out and lose your next turn to heal fully. And if the bad guy has a knockout penalty, you suffer that as well. Alternately, you can also skip your turn to heal up 2 hit points. It is also important to note that while it is not on the card, every character starts with a 0 for a retreat bonus. If you face a bad guy but cannot defeat it or do not want to risk it, you can retreat. If your die roll plus any retreat bonuses you will get throughout the game is greater than listed on the bad guy card, then you were successful and you end your turn. However, if you fail to beat the card, you still end the battle, but you lose 1 hit point in the process. Also, even if your total bonuses can defeat the bad guy, you must still roll the die because a 1 is an automatic failure. At the bottom of your character card is your special bonus. In this example, Count White gets a +2 fight bonus if he has a handheld weapon, which I'll explain when we get to weapons. Next, you'll draw a random starting power card. Place it face up for everyone to see. The card is broken down into the event that led to your power. In this example, you were bitten by a super bug. Followed by your superpower, this one says your character can now walk on walls. These are more for story purposes. For the context of the game, the words below are how it affects you. It might give you a fight bonus, a retreat bonus, or both. And in some cards, there is text below the bonus to further explain the power. In this example, you will add a +1 to your fight bonus. And now, you have a retreat bonus of +2. The next card you randomly draw is your starting hero card. This is who your character is trying to become. This card is secret. Make sure no one else sees this but you. You'll see the superhero name on the top and a picture of the character. Listed on the right are the things you'll need to win. First is a costume piece. They can range from needing a specific color or needing a specific item of clothing. In the example of the splash, you only need to own any body piece. The color does not matter. Next is the weapon you need. There are 2 listed, but you only need to be in possession of 1 of them. Below that is the vehicle that your character needs, and we'll explain that a little bit further when we get to that section. And lastly, you need to be in possession of 1 of the 2 superpowers. Once you have all 4 items on your list, you can reveal to the other players and the world that you have become the first Hero of Supermegatropolis, and more importantly, you have won the game. Now that you have your starting cards, let's move on to the actual gameplay. First, everyone rolls a die, and whoever rolls higher goes first. It's up to you to keep track of your fight and retreat bonus and how many hit points you currently have. The easiest way to do that is have a piece of paper and a pen with you while you play and keep track as the game progresses. Now since you're a low-level character just starting your crime-fighting journey, you'll begin by attempting to defeat a thug. So draw a thug card. In this example, the first thug you encounter is a mime thug. Every foe has their fight and retreat listed on the card. This is the number you have to beat with a die roll and your fight bonus. Since your character bonus has a fight of 2, all you need to do is roll a 4 on the die to defeat the mime thug. Note, you must defeat the thug to win. A tie does not win. If you cannot fight or decide not to, you can try to retreat your opponent as I explained earlier. If you get knocked out by your foe, then you must take the knockout penalty. In this example, you must not talk until your next turn or any other player can take any card you have in play. But let's say you're successful. Congratulations! You can now choose between a Thug Reward card or Dirty Money, which is money you stole from the bad guy because, come on, crime fighting ain't cheap. The majority of the Thug Reward cards will be costume items which you can put on your character by placing the card face up in front of you. There are 5 pieces to collect: head, back, body, boots, and gloves. When you put on the costume piece, immediately add the bonus to your character. If you ever have more than 1 color on your character, you get a matching bonus of a +1 to your fight. Note that if you ever lose the matching costume piece, you also lose your matching bonus. Once you have all 5 pieces of your costume, you get a complete costume bonus of a +3. It's also important to note that once you have a completed costume, you must move on to the crime boss bad guys. Now if you ever lose a piece of costume in the crime boss level, you must go back down to the thug level to fight until you get the piece you need back, or if you have extra money you can purchase it. This is important because supervillains are tough and you're going to need all the points you have to fight them. Crime Boss reward cards will give you weapons and vehicles which cost money, so before you're ready to move on, make sure you collect some dirty money so you can purchase those things when they come up. Money will also help in the thug level to buy costume pieces from the discard pile. But note, if you draw a costume piece that you do not already have, you may immediately put it on your character. If you already have a matching costume piece but of a different color, you can choose which one you want to wear and the other one gets discarded. Now the price listed as closet is how much it is to purchase on your turn. Note that if you ever buy anything for your character like a costume piece, weapons, or vehicles from the discard pile, that counts as your entire turn. You can only make change from the bank discard if there is already money there. You'll also notice other cards in the reward decks that will either help you or hurt you. As a general rule, if it is something bad like losing 1 hit point for example, then you must do it immediately. If it is something helpful like stealing a costume piece from another player, you may do that at any time during your turn. Stealing something from another player and adding it to your collection does not count as a full round action. Because this is a test deck, there's also an additional rule. When you play a card that is either against you or against another hero, instead of discarding it, shuffle it back into the draw pile. This will make up for the fact that there aren't that many to begin with. The official game will have more than enough cards to handle that. Once you have a completed costume and feel you have enough money, it's time to move on to Crime Boss. The Crime Boss cards work exactly like the Thug ones, only now you'll notice they're a little bit harder. But that's okay, because you're a little bit more awesome. The same rules for fighting or retreating apply here. Once you defeat a Crime Boss, you may again choose from Dirty Money or a Crime Boss reward card. Now as I previously said, most of these cards will be weapons or vehicles. Let's look at weapons first. Keep in mind your character only has 2 hands because, he's human. So if a card says it's two-handed, then that's the only weapon you can have. Now you can have any weapon you want, but you need the one on your starting hero card to win. At any time if you purchase a new weapon and want to trade it out for the one you already have, it'll cost a full turn, so choose wisely. Weapon cards are broken down into the title of the weapon and a picture of it. Underneath the title on the left will tell you if it's two-handed or not. Some weapons will say 1 or 2, which means you get the bonus depending on how many hands you choose to give it. Next to that is the kind of weapon it is. There are miscellaneous weapons, handheld weapons, and ranged weapons. These only come into play when looking at your character to see if you get any bonuses for those weapons. In the gray box are the stats for that weapon. They all give you a fight bonus, but some of them will also give you other things, like the body weight card for example gives you 2 extra hit points, but you lose 1 to retreat, because, it's hard to run away, because you're fat. On the very bottom of the card are 3 different prices. The first price says buy. That's how much it'll cost if it's the one that you drew on your turn as a reward. If you do not want the card, discard it face up next to the reward deck. Anyone else can purchase this card on their turn, but they'll have to pay the armory price, which is always more expensive, but if it's the weapon you're waiting for, it's worth it. You can also sell at any point during your turn to spend money on something immediately. You do not get cash from the bank, so you must use that money on this turn, like to buy another weapon or a vehicle. Speaking of, let's look at vehicles now. There are 5 types of vehicles: armored, boat, car, magic, and plane. At the top of the card you'll see the name of the vehicle and a picture. Under the name is the type of vehicle it is. Some are pretty self-explanatory, like a speedboat is a boat. But some are more than one type. The Abracadabra, for example, is a car and a magic vehicle, so it'll work for either one. But for this example, let's go back to the simple speedboat. In the gray box, you'll see the stats, which always give you a fight bonus and a retreat bonus. Some will give you another bonus, like the speedboat, which gives you a +3 to miscellaneous weapons, which is great since the card that we're using as the example is body weight is a miscellaneous weapon, so you'll get that bonus to your fight. At the bottom of the card are 3 prices, and they work exactly like vehicle prices. Buy price is if you were the one that drew it, armory price is if it's in the discard pile, and the sell price is how much you can spend if you sell it. And just like a weapon, if you need to trade a vehicle in for a new one, it's a full round action. So now you have a complete costume, a weapon, and a vehicle, and you're ready to fight supervillains. These guys work a little differently. The supervillain cards look just like the other ones, except they're much tougher. The main difference now is you must also draw a supervillain complication card. If the complication applies to you, like in this example where it says if you are wearing any color blue, you must fight it in a -3, then you must take that into consideration before attempting to fight the supervillain. If it does not affect you, like if the card says starting female characters fight at a -3, which does not matter since your starting character was male, then you can ignore it and fight like normal. Once you defeat a supervillain, you draw a supervillain reward card. These are where you'll get your superpowers. Superpowers are free, but you're only allowed to have one at a time, and so if you need to change it out later to get the winning one you need, it'll also cost you a full round action, so keep that in mind while deciding. And once you have all 4 items on your starting hero card, you are victorious and can proudly say you are the first hero of Supermegatropolis.